And begin with our standard script. So this is calling to order the History Commission meeting of July 6, 2022. And to conduct this meeting wholly electronically, the History Commission needs to make certain findings for the record to evidence our compliance with all applicable laws. These motions address this compliance. First, I'm going to conduct a roll call and ask each board member participating in this meeting to state your name and your location. I ask that each of you pay close attention to ensure that you can hear each of your colleagues. And to start, oh, that is so good. I printed out a list of everybody and it didn't print. So let me call, so Sally Lyons.
Sally Lyons, Colchester.
Subi Madi.
Subi Madi, Mclean, Drainsville District.
Okay. Sorry. Tammy Manorino.
Tammy Manorino, Mount Vernon District.
Sue Schumann. Sue, are you there?
Mute, she's mute.
She's muted, yeah, I can see. Sue, you want to unmute yourself and say hi? I'll come back, maybe she's walked away. Phyllis Walker Ford.
Phyllis Walker Ford, Clifton, Virginia.
Okay, Mary Lipsey.
Mary Lipsey, Braddock District.
Gretchen Bulova.
Gretchen Bulova, Braddock District as well.
Esther McCullough.
Esther McCullough, Sully District.
Elise Murray.
Elise Murray, Vienna.
Elise, you want to try that again? That was very quiet.
Elise Murray, Vienna.
Okay, sorry. It sounds like that's your voice rather than your connection.
My voice has not really gotten much better.
Better. Yeah, sorry. I don't mean to make you strain it further. David Meyer. David. Come back to him in a second. Carol Herrick. Carol, can you unmute yourself? Come back to her in a second. Who else have I forgotten, overlooked here? Barbara Peters.
Barbara Peters, Annandale.
Barbara Naif.
Barbara Naif, Reston and Hunter Mill District.
Ann Stuntz.
Yeah. This is really stupid.
And Stan, Vienna.
Where's this features might be unavailable thing?
Sue, I can hear your voice in the background.
Yes, now, okay.
Get you to participate in our roll call.
Yeah, I had to join again. I don't know what happened. Sue
Okay.
Schumann, Providence District, thanks.
Yeah, I had to join a couple of times to get on as well. Janae Lindner.
Here,
Janae, please state
Springfield
your.
District, Janae
Okay.
Lindner.
David Meyer, are you there? David, you might have to re-up. Carol Herrick, are you there?
Can you hear me now?
Carol, yes, thank you.
Okay, Drainsville District.
Thank you.
What about Ann Barnes?
Yeah, Ann Barnes, I don't see her listed. Ann?
Steve Sherman.
Steve
Yes,
Sherman?
Steve Sherman in Franconia, representing Lee District, soon to be Franconia District in 2023.
Right. Well, yeah.
Mhm.
Jordan, I think is going to be late, so I don't see him on the list of participants. But I'll call his name Jordan Tannenbaum.
Lynn is
And
traveling.
Lynn Garvey Hodge. Yeah, she didn't think that she would be able to make it. Yeah, so Lynn is excused. Jordan is expected to be late. David Meyer, do we have a connection with you yet?
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can. Thank you.
Oh, okay. All right. I am present in the city of Fairfax.
Or have I overlooked anyone in terms of on the, oh, Bob, sorry.
Now hear this. At large, Bob Beach.
Okay.
Thank
And I'm trying to keep a running count here, and it looks like, I feel like I don't have enough folks, although I can't think offhand who I have overlooked. Can we add everybody? Everybody who's listed as a participant. Okay, sorry about that. My printer just decided not to print the name column. I do want to check in just as a sound check and also acknowledge that Amy Wells is here. Amy? Want to just say hi so we know we can hear you?
I am here.
Sarah Petrov.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. And I know Chris, are you there? Chris
Hi,
Barbershop?
I'm here. Yep.
All right. And Grace, I assume you are here.
I am here. And Janae, it looks like you're sharing your screen of the meeting.
Oh, okay. Yes. So Janae, take up. Don't unshare your screen. All right. Okay, so we can then proceed with the next. Sorry, that took longer than usual. At this point, I will pass the virtual gavel on to, well, not to Lynn. So Esther, I'll pass it to you.
Sure. Carol, am I still sharing it?
It's the X to the right of the mute. That X within the box to the right of where your cursor is.
Where the X is? Stop sharing.
Yes. There you go.
Okay, somehow that changed my view.
Oh, did it?
Are we sure? Are you sure about that, Grace? Because now I can't see. That actually changed my. Anyway, all right. Now I don't see everybody.
I think it's because there's a lot of people with their camera on. So if you go to the more with the dot, you can hit large gallery and see.
Large gallery is what I missed. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. So at this point, I'm passing the gavel to Esther so that I make the appropriate motions. I move that the History Commission certify for the record that each member's voice may be adequately heard by each other member of this board.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and second. Is there a discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those that oppose, nay. Motion carries.
Okay. Second, I move that the History Commission certify that the state of emergency caused by the COVID-19 pandemic makes it unsafe for this commission and the public to physically attend this meeting in person, and that the usual procedures cannot be implemented safely or practically. As a result, I further move that the Fairfax County History Commission conduct this meeting wholly electronically through a dedicated video and audio conferencing line, and that the public may access this meeting by calling 1-571-429-5982 and entering access code 186-812-57#.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
If there's a nay, say so. Motion carried.
All right. Finally, I move that the History Commission certify that the matters on its agenda today relate to the COVID-19 emergency itself, are necessary for the continuity in Fairfax County government, and or are statutorily required or necessary to continue operations and the discharge of Fairfax of the History Commission's lawful purposes, duties, and responsibilities.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Then the motion carries. You
All
can have
right.
your gavel back.
Thank you so much, Esther. Appreciate the efficient handling of that. All right. Before moving into the meat of tonight's meeting, I want to thank the Advocacy Committee, and particularly Tammy Manarino and Subi Madi, for preparing an annual report for 2021. As you all know, we presented that to the Board of Supervisors on June 28th, and it was very well received. I also want to thank Tammy with the acknowledging assistance from Anne and Barbara for putting together a really excellent PowerPoint presentation that made me look professional and cogent, and generally reflected well on the commission. So thank you very much to those folks. I also want to note some changes in personnel. Denise has stopped working 2 jobs officially and will be focusing on her new role as Principal Heritage Planner and staff to the ARB. And I know we all wish her well, and we'll set aside some time in an upcoming meeting to invite her back and to, more properly express our collective thanks and good wishes. Until someone is hired to fill the liaison position, Laura Arsenault will be filling in, although tonight she is actually home nursing a cold. So we're going to have to get into the habit of CCing Laura for a little while and not Denise. Another staff member who's moved up in the world is Chris Barbashak. Yay, Chris. Congratulations for becoming the head of the Virginia room. Lastly, it was announced on the 28th that the History Commission will be receiving additional staff. So in addition to our liaison position that they're still trying to fill, there will be a new position. And so it will be a part-time position at first. And that person, the most immediate tasks that they'll be handling are assistance with the market committee, but they will have a broader role than that as time goes on. Okay, I think that's everything. And we can proceed to, I need a motion to approve the minutes and pay the clerk.
Approve the minutes.
I move that we approve the June minutes and pay the clerk. This is Barbara Nave.
Okay, thanks.
I
Barbara.
second it, Barbara Peters.
Okay, and all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, I'm sorry, I should have asked for discussion, but I think that we would have been aware of that ahead of time. All right, Treasurer's report, Sue.
Well, I do have a question. How is that position going to be funded, the halftime position? Did they tell us?
So that is, the Board of Supervisors found the money for that and is providing it to DPD.
Thank you. It's not coming out of our budget. That's what I needed to know. Okay.
No, they do not.
Okay, thank you. We have right now $54,193.88. The only expense was paying Elliot, and the History Conference has $2,022.30 to get started for this year after the last conference's expenditures. And that's all there is to report.
Okay, any questions or comments with regard to that report? All right, moving along to staff reports. Amy, you're up.
How exciting. I do apologize. I have been on vacation for 10 days and it was luxurious, but I didn't get you a hard copy. So Elliot, I will send that along and I'll send that along to the group as well. So I am ready though.
Thank you.
This July 16th, that's not this coming Saturday, but the next, at Dumbarton House in Washington, D.C. It's on Q Street, if you're not familiar with it. Will be the Day of Archaeology, and it's hosted by the DC Historic Preservation Office and a really great community group called Archaeology in the Community, and archaeologists from the DC office, as well as from our shop and other cultural resource management firms, et cetera, will be doing a free event from 10 till 3 at Dumbarton House, and there'll be activities for kids and lots of interesting, hopefully interesting historical information and information about what we've learned using archaeology in the greater DC area. So come by and say hey to an archaeologist and see Dumbarton House. It's a really neat place if you haven't been. So that is July 16th from 10 to 3. All next week and the week after, I'll be busy doing interviews for our collection management position. We'll be interviewing, I don't even know how many people, seems like a lot. But hopefully we'll get those interviews squared away and get somebody into that position ASAP. It is desperately needed. We began the process, I guess, early, maybe the second week of June. It's been a long-standing goal of ours to get historical background information and start a sort of Section 110 type survey of all of our resource-based parks in the Park Authority. And we have that on some of our historic resource-based parks, especially Sully, for example, has been studied a lot. For example, Colvin Run Mill, that sort of thing. But we have quite a few more. So we've started doing deed research and historical background research on all of our resource-based parks, with the hope that we can do this desk-based survey and then field survey to help us manage those parks as we look at all the different things that have to go into our parks, be that a pickleball, Barbara, or trails, or anything like that. So that is what we were up to. We still are digging out at Riverbend. We wish it would not rain every day. That's the report.
Thank you so much, Amy.
Sure.
Anybody have any questions or comments for Amy?
I do, Carol.
Yes, ma'am.
Riverbend, what all are you doing? Where are you working at Riverbend?
So, I mean, as you know, Carol, that's a really big park.
Yeah.
We have surveyed now the bottom 3/4 of that park. We're just got the very top corner of the park yet to do at a phase 1 level. So this has been, I think we're in our third year. COVID time made times get weird. So we're in our 3rd year out there, and we'll have results pretty soon, actually. That park has been surveyed at just sort of a walkover level before, and so we had a sense of what we would find, but then the shovel testing gave us a little more information. So just as soon as we get that report out, I will send it to you, but we are surveying that whole park.
Okay, because a few years ago you did a section, it was a small section, and you found a lot of arrowheads and whatever. Yeah,
that's right. And I would just say, in the work we've done more recently, certainly the Native American component in that park is the biggest. There are more Native American sites there than others, but we've also found some interesting artifacts from those fishing camps that were there right at the turn of the century. Some moonshining activity. So bottles upon bottles upon bottles. And then of course the Conn's Ferry site, which we've known is there. So we found artifacts dating from that period as well. But the vast majority of artifacts out there are Native American.
Great. Thank you. Thank you.
No, my pleasure.
All right. Moving along. I think it's Heritage Resource Conservation Branch. Sarah, you're up next.
Yes. Hi, everyone. So just a few quick updates. So for operations and maintenance, our wood window repairs are still happening both at Ash Grove and White Gardens. and that will take place through July. So we're now entering the month of July. We're hoping by the end we'll be done with that. Our next biggest thing is that we have officially started work at Drainsville Tavern. We had some pretty gnarly termite damage on that one wall, if you're familiar with it. So we actually have a company coming out, and they are going to work on repairing that, being able to replace the wood. And we have it anticipating that they'll start, I think they started at least last week or this week, and it will take place through hopefully by the end of November, not any time later than that. But fingers crossed that works out well. Everyone is eager to do that. We've been looking forward to do that for the last couple months, so we'll see a big improvement there. For our Historic Sites Volunteer Corps, we have an event coming up this Saturday over at Historic Union Farm. So it's going to be a landscape cleanup, just kind of taking care of the area around there. And then for our resident curator program, it's been kind of quiet, but we have signed off on the lease for Elmore Farmhouse with Service Source. So we actually had the lease signing June 2nd, and we had Supervisor Walter L. Alcorn attending and speaking at the event. So that was a success. Everyone from Service Source showed up. We had people from our branch and from the resource management show up. So it's a good turnout for everybody, and we're looking forward to starting that as well. But that's all we really have on our end. It was kind of a quiet month.
Any
I have
questions?
a sort of silly question. After you repair termite damage in an historic building like that, I mean, are you allowed to cheat and use modern protection to keep it from happening again?
Well, so they had treated it when they first detected the termite damage, and it was enough to stop it, but it was just the damage was so bad already. I mean, the walls are crumbling. You could poke a finger through it and you can see through the other side. If you look at the wall with the chimney, really it's the chimney that's holding the entire wall up. It's bowing across, and you can see it on the first floor and the second floor. So we're trying to gather materials that are that will be termite free, so anything that's not attractive to termites, that's kind of our big goal, so that doesn't happen again, but also making sure it's still historically accurate, authentic with all the wood that was used previously, so you know, it's architecturally sound but also accurate to the time it was built.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So it's not open at all for public events?
No,
Yeah,
the goal was to have it go into the resident curator program. That was the big idea of it, and we still are looking to have that done, but to make sure it's safe for everybody, and for the workers itself, we would have to get that repaired. So hopefully that will only take about a couple months to get that done. It's a good group. They have a good record. We've worked with them before with Fairfax. So, yeah, we're looking forward to it.
Do you have a report on Margaret White Gardens status?
Yeah, so it's a bit complicated. I think we've closed the commentary, the public commentary, where we had people provide their feedback and their questions. And it sounds like it may not go through with the resident curator program. There is quite a bit of negative feedback. People had a lot of questions, not just about the Margaret White Gardens, but also about resident curator program. And so David, I know, met with the head of the resource management, and they've had a couple meetings since then. They're still looking at their options of what to do with the house. But at the moment, they've kind of stopped with all proceedings with the potential curator.
Okay, good to know. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
And in case you want to know who's speaking, it's Bob Beach, architect. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Bob. And thank
You're
you,
welcome.
Sarah. Appreciate that report. Moving on, Chris Barbashak. new head of the Virginia room.
Yay.
Yay.
So I didn't actually write a staff report because I have no staff to report on for a variety of unexpected reasons. All of my staff has been out this past month, so it's just been me, but we're plugging along. On June 2nd, Supervisor Kathy Smith got the dream team of Liz Crowell and myself, and I think Cheryl was there as well. Liz and I both gave a presentation on the history of Sully Historic Site and why Sully District was named Sully District. So that was a lot of fun. The Library of Virginia has digitized the Fairfax County Journal Standard from 1946 to 1963. They're currently processing it, and hopefully by the end of the summer, it'll be on Virginia Chronicle, which is the same website that has the Fairfax Herald. And we're really excited about that because that paper has never been indexed. We do have it on microfilm, but it's like looking for a needle in a haystack with that paper. So we're really excited about that. I'm also working with the Library of Virginia. I'm going to send them our microfilm for the Fairfax County Sun Echo, which is from the same time period, early 40s to about the mid 60s, and they'll be digitizing that. And lastly, the vacant Virginia Room Library 1 position will be posted next week. So if you know anybody who likes local history or genealogy, send that job announcement to them because we would love to hire them. And that's all.
That sounds awesome, Chris. Thank you. And sorry, what was the newspaper that you said is going to be on the Chronicles?
Fairfax County Journal Standard.
Journal.
It's not a very well-known paper, but it covered quite a lot.
All right, awesome. Really need to have some of those 20th century sources.
Oh yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. Anybody else have questions or comments for Chris?
Just yay.
Yay, yeah.
For everything, everything you said.
All right, moving along from the Grace, Department of Planning and Development.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for letting me fill in tonight. I just want to also, before going over the staff report that Denise sent you guys, I want to introduce Megan Riley, who's just turned her camera on. She's our new limited term position who just graduated from Mary Washington with a degree in historic preservation.
Yay.
And she's also worked with Alexandria's Office of Heritage Resources. So she'll be helping Denise on QCing inventory properties for accuracy. She's helping me do preliminary development review, and she'll also be helping to post the electronic meeting information for the public, among several other projects. Thanks, Megan.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you want to say a quick hey.
Yeah, Megan, go ahead. You can say hi. We appreciate
Hi, everyone.
you being here.
So yeah, I just started actually this week. It's a month ago, so that's scary. But so yeah, you'll be seeing more of me for the next little while at the very least. So nice to meet you all. I think I met some of you guys at the Ethnic and Oral History Committee meeting. I had to set that one up to help with Denise. But so yeah, that's me. You'll be seeing more of me, hopefully.
All right. Well, thank you. Welcome aboard.
Thanks, Megan. So from the staff report, the only two things that have updates are that the Homes Run Acres potential HOD, we're having a community meeting on July 22nd at 7 p.m. at the Woodburn Elementary School. So feel free to come on by and show your support. It's open to the public, so all are welcome. And there's no update on anything else except for the new History Commission position, which Cheryl has already mentioned. So if you have any questions, I can try to answer, or I can write them down and get them to Laura.
Anybody have any questions, comments? I do want just a quick clarification. Did you say July 22nd or July 26th for the Homes Run meeting?
26th.
26th, okay. All right. Okay, moving right along then. Unfinished business. This is basically defining the Financial Review Committee. I have so far 3 committee members, myself, Ann Stuntz, and Steve Sherman. Steve, thank you very much for agreeing to be a member. We need a 4th member. And
Um,
Elise, I don't know
Cheryl?
if you wanted to say anything about what the committee does.
Cheryl, this is Subi.
Sure.
You have 4 members now.
Oh, are you agreeing? I sent that to you kind of last minute. All right.
I'm saying I do, yes.
Excellent. So now we have 4 members. And Elise, I don't know if you wanted to say anything about the committee. All right. So yeah, I will be, I think just to be, you know, since Anne already chairs a committee, unless there's somebody who really wants to lead, you know, be the chair of this committee, I can organize the meetings and provide you with material, especially since I have access to ShareFile, and it can upload that. So look forward to hearing from me in terms of scheduling a meeting for that and sharing Elise's list of things for us to do. And Elise, I assume that you participate in this. I don't know if you want to be a formal member of the committee, or I know that Sue participates, you know, as a sort of source of information.
As the History Commission's bookkeeper, I have long felt it inappropriate to be a member of the committee.
Okay, that's what I figured.
Yes, but I will not be a member.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to confirm that. Thank you. All right. Okay, so
I'm sorry, I didn't really understand what Elise said. Could you repeat it?
So she was saying that she was saying, and Elise, you can wave your hand and if I get it wrong, that as the budget committee chairperson, she felt that
the bookkeeper.
Oh, it's the bookkeeper for the commission. She felt that it would be inappropriate for her to actually be on the committee. Because in some ways, you know, this isn't an audit, but we are trying to check the consistency of records. And that's why Sue participates, but is not a member of the committee as such. And that's specified in our bylaws, but it's not, the bylaws don't mention the bookkeeper position. Okay, so that's done, and we will proceed with that. You'll hear more as we move along. So now we actually can move along to new business. Sally, tell us about the DC Coastal Study and what you would like the commission to do.
Glenda Booth contacted me. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Glenda Booth contacted me. She is president of the Friends of Dyke Marsh and the former chair of the Wetlands Board. And she would be very pleased if the History Commission would start to participate in this process because there are a lot of historical factors involved. The thing is, the draft feasibility report and environmental assessment for the Metropolitan Washington District of Columbia Coastal Storm Risk Management Feasibility Study, which is prepared by the Army Corps of Engineers. And it hits on a number of areas along the coast of Northern Virginia, but particularly we are concerned about the Bellhaven-Bellevue section along the George Washington Memorial Parkway. Several questions arose. It's a huge document. You're welcome to review it. It's available. It's over 204 pages without the appendices. They are fulfilling their NEPA requirements. They are doing Section 106, and they have sent letters to a number of entities, historical entities in the area, and they also are keeping a record online of letters that they have received. But we have not been contacted, and we have not sent any letters. So I think it would behoove us to express our interest and perhaps to tell them a little more about the nature of the George Washington Memorial Parkway, because they don't really give it a lot of content. They say, yes, it's on the National Register, but then they don't really make very much of it, which makes it vulnerable. What is happening right now, there was a map sent out to you that shows the flood walls that are proposed, which tightly surround the area of housing and development west of the parkway there between Bellhaven and Dyke Marsh. And then there's a levee across Dyke Marsh, which the environmentalists are very concerned about. That isn't exactly our purview at this point. But there is a heavy movement in the locals who live in that area to move all of the flood control elements across the parkway onto National Park Service land. like levees and things like that. National Park Service is refusing. People are asking their politicians to go over the head of the National Park Service and seize the land. So this could be very destructive, both to the marsh and to the historic resources and the appearance of the parkway. The area that would currently be surrounded by a wall is area that's already basically disturbed, and the wall would be done in some way consistent with the appearance of the parkway. And it's the average height is supposed to be about 6 feet. So it isn't like a 12-foot wall. But anyway, I think we need to be involved in the process. I don't know if we can go in as a stakeholder. I don't know what the status is with the county. I think we should make our interests known to the entity that's doing the report, and probably also to Dan Stork and Jeff McKay, and tell them how we, our interests, our concerns about the historical aspects of the study. So what do you think?
I was going to say, I have some thoughts on this. I am kind of curious. You said that they have sent out some letters to folks for Section 106 review. Do we know who they have sent to?
They made a list. They sent it to the various, what did they say they sent it to for our county? It was like the Historical Preservation and Resource, and I'm not so sure exactly what entity they actually sent it to, but they've been sending it to like planning and development organizations and historical organizations. I think probably as they find out about them. Like they sent one to the Prince William County Historical Branch and that sort of thing. But we haven't received anything. So I think we should contact them.
I think you're absolutely right. And yeah, I think we should be stakeholders. I hope they have Friends of Dyke Marsh down there as stakeholders. Yeah, that's kind of disturbing that they haven't gotten to us. I feel like we're pretty easy to find.
I think they hit the county, an entity in the county, and they felt they had done their duty, so.
Interesting.
So,
yeah, I mean, this is a big deal, and it's one of those things where people think of the parkway as a roadway, and they don't always think of it as, a historic asset. So I think it's really important to advocate for it.
I think
have they not contacted any of the citizens associations in that area? Had you heard about that, Tammy, because you're close by?
Yeah, they've had 2 public meetings. They had a public meeting in September of 2019 in Alexandria. They had one public meeting in June at Bellevue Elementary School, and they had a Teams meeting in June.
So, right. So I will say, like, I'm sorry, I have heard about the public meetings, but I didn't think that was the Section 106 process. I thought Section 106 was different from public meetings.
Both Amy and Grace, who are staff, have hands raised. They may be able to add some information to you all.
Yes, I was about to recognize them, Barbara. Thank you.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay. Amy, go ahead.
Yeah, so that has come through our office for review, and it is, as Sally said, a preliminary study. They are front-loading their Section 106 process by trying to get stakeholders together, and it's such a huge project that they're trying to section it out a little bit. And so from our end, we did mention that we would like to be stakeholders. We, the Archaeology and Collections branch. So we asked to be stakeholders in the 106 process, but it hasn't really taken off yet in that none of the surveys or historical background work has been done yet. So it's basically come through as we're thinking of doing this. We haven't nailed down an area for sure yet. These are some options, and until I have something with places to react to, it's difficult to review. So at this point in the review process, we have asked to be partners in that process. And I do think that at least the Army Corps is aware that there are significant resources that they are going to need to deal with. However, also, of course, they're dealing with the fact there is significant flooding, and that may continue to get worse and worse. So it's a difficult balancing act, and I don't envy the stakeholders in it. But we will continue to be involved, and they have reached out to us at this point. That being said, that does not preclude your involvement either. So
Grace, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, thanks. So Denise is taking lead from our branches, and so I'd suggest getting in contact with her if you want to coordinate efforts too.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you're saying contact Denise. Is it come to DPD as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we've finished the preliminary review, and I'm not sure what Denise's comments were, but I know she's taking lead on it.
Okay, good to know. Elise.
The Architecture Review Board is a consulting party, and Denise is the materials. So they're involved.
Okay, so that was difficult to understand, but I gather you're saying that Denise is the, one of the people who.
The ARB.
Oh, there you go.
On this, and is asked to be a consulting party.
Oh, okay, thank you.
I have received materials from Denise as part of that body. So yes, she's definitely involved in it, as is our counterpart. So I think it would behoove us for the History Commission to become a consulting party as well.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Elise. I appreciate you restating that.
So to whom do we address that then? To the entity conducting the study?
Yeah, I would think to the Corps of Engineers. I see somebody else's hand is up. Is that Amy? Is that you still, or were you raising your hand? Or is it this?
I just wanted to let you know that on that 200-page document, on the very first, it may be the second page, there are email addresses and snail mail addresses for people to reach out. So that's where you would come in.
Okay.
If you have trouble finding that, Sally, do let me know and I can get it for you.
Okay.
And I know that there is a public comment period, which is not the Section 106 proceedings, but just a public comment period that's currently open until July 31st. So we could, express our concerns about the historical resources and ask to become a shareholder in the 106, a stakeholder in the 106 process.
Okay.
Potentially.
So I'm feeling a little bit like a stepchild here that that we heard about it through Glenda Booth instead of through other channels. Am I wrong to feel like somebody should have let us know? I don't know. I feel a little bit strange about this, that if Glenda hadn't mentioned it to Sally, we would not be involved in this. That concerns me.
I don't think that's uncommon. When you have an organization like this trying to find out who is actually the responsible parties, they don't always get it right the first time. That's why you have to contact them sometimes.
Yeah. Okay.
They have reached out to a lot of people. They just didn't happen to have reached out to us.
Yeah, I also got the impression that they really are just starting their Section 106 process. So, in fact, one public meeting that I was reviewing the video for, when somebody from the public asked about their Section 106 process, and it was pretty clear that they really didn't know the answer, and they had to find somebody amongst the group of staff who was there who had some idea what it was about.
They have a lot of information about NEPA on paper, but I think they're still getting done. The idea is to go to construction sometime around the middle of the decade, and they want to have everything in place by 2030. That's the plan. So there's several steps yet before they actually do get to any sort of construction. So what are we going to do? We're going to write a letter.
So I think if you want to make a motion, Sally, as we typically do, if you wish to draft a letter for my signature, or if there's anybody else who wishes to work with you on putting together, just sort of summarize what we've just been discussing, and move that we go forward with that letter by, in time for the 31st, if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, I move that the History Commission draft a letter to the principals of the coastal study.
With a really long name.
With a very long name, yes. Stating our concerns regarding historical preservation in the process of creating the seawall or the flood control system, and requesting to be a consulting party, or do you want to say 106 stakeholder? Do you want to say that? A section 106 stakeholder in the process.
I second the motion.
All right, any discussion? Okay, no questions or further discussion? Sorry, go ahead, Esther.
I think we should draft the letter, of course, but I think before sending, we should consult Denise.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's a friendly amendment to that motion. Any other questions, issues?
I have a question. Should it say Denise or Laura, since we don't have Denise anymore?
Well, in this instance, Denise is the person in DPD who is taking the lead on this thing. So I think that's Denise.
Sounds good.
Technically, I guess we should CC Laura when we contact her. Okay. So, any other discussion? All right. So on the motion that we draft a letter to the DC Coastal Study regarding our concerns for the historic resources and to become a Section 106 stakeholder with prior consultation with Denise. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Hey, sounds like that motion passed unanimously. Thank you so much. That was.
Yes, thank you, Sally.
Yeah, yes, thank you for bringing this to our attention, Sally. And there was somebody who spoke rather passionately about, the importance of the GW Parkway and preserving its historic character. So, it is an issue we shouldn't let slide by. All right. Janae, tell us about the courthouse well canopy. And also, Janae, well, go ahead. Why don't you talk about what your idea is?
Okay, this is something that has been on the books for quite some time. And as president of the Friends of the Historic Fairfax Courthouse, and when the cannons were removed and the Marr Monument was removed, it moved up in its interest. And I actually had reached out to Supervisor Polchek, since she's over the area. Their office was very interested. They said we would need to talk to the Park Authority, but then I was put on the History Commission, and I thought, you know what, this would be better to go through the History Commission. And I don't know if you got a chance to look at the material. Do you want me to screen share it, Cheryl?
No, I don't think so, unless somebody specifically wants to see it.
Okay. But basically, do kind of what Sally just said. We would draft a letter in support of looking into that, moving the canopy and the pillars back over to the courthouse, and then that poor little sad pedestal that's there would be fixed, and we'd put it on a platform, and then we could have signage around it, because it was an important landmark in Fairfax County. As you could see by the postcard that I had, we don't acknowledge it, but in those days they did acknowledge it. It's obviously very inclusive, which I think is one thing that we want to try to give to the county in our history. And so it's just something that I really thought since they are going ahead and going to be doing all of the changes in the next 2 years, it could be something else that could be put on the docket. Any comments? Oh, Barbara.
Okay, thank you, Janae. In March of 2021, when you, that's the first time I saw discussions about this, and I was involved simply because of institutional memory again, and many staff spent a long time trying to verify and document this. And so at this point, unless something has dramatically changed, I don't think that, I think that we should table it or something. I think it needs to go to staff. I talked with Liz and Amy today about this, and in order to verify that, in fact, that the gazebo at Sully is the wheel, I mean the well top, because if you look at the photograph that is used so often from 1863, it is not the same. It doesn't have the same roof or anything. So I think that there's enough questions here that we should, not the staff doesn't have enough to do as it is, but I would urge that the Park Authority staff proceed. We you know, and I know I talked to Ann too because of the Sully Foundation. The question is, it probably came to Sully during Eddie Wagstaff's time, which is right after, you know, in the 60s. But the question is where it came from and how to verify it, because they look like different structures. So my recommendation is that if staff could put it on its long list and see what they can verify. It's an interesting idea if in fact that's the correct structure. I still have questions. So that's my point.
Thank you. One thing I did do is, if you notice, I had two different pictures. One was from 1909, and then the other one was from 1863. And I think the structure was significantly different. Mm-hmm. And so what I was looking at is I'm thinking, well, this was probably the last structure, because you figure the building expansion was done in the 1920s. And so that's kind of where I was coming from. And if you look at it, there really was almost like two steps. There was a platform, and then it looks like there even was another step even closer to the well, as I kind of stared at what was with Jack Rowe. And so that's, I think, Amy, if you could put it on your to-do list, that would be wonderful.
I think also, you know, we do need to work with the historic courthouse staff. So we need to work with Heather and with the Sully Historic Site, the staff there, because these items are, you know, really first and foremost, you know, sort of in their ballpark. And so we shouldn't necessarily, you know, we should have them on board and supporting the idea before we kind of go ahead and start, unless there's some, you know, compelling.
Yeah, I did send actually a copy of this to Heather.
Okay.
And then actually I sent a copy of this also to John Fry to share with the Sheriff's Department and the Chief Judge. You know, just, I thought it was, I agree with you. I thought it was really important. And when I talked to Supervisor Poljak's office, she was just of the mind of, well, we need to go and talk to the Park Authority.
Right.
And that was where it left. But that was before I was called as a history commissioner. This was during COVID. Do you know what I mean? So I just kind of stopped everything. But it's been on the back burner, and I thought, you know, we need to, since they're doing all the changes anyway, I would be really curious to know if it's true. Do you know what I mean? Is that so? How would we go back about? How would I go about supporting Amy?
Well,
go ahead, Barbara.
I think when I was involved, Amy was involved, Liz was involved, Mary Oline was in management of resource management, all these people. And so you just, if the History Commission is interested, we step back and let them proceed and see what they can find to document it one way or the other. At that,
Okay.
I think that's the step that we should do now. And if it works out, then that's interesting. Then there are another lot of problems and issues as to how that occurs. But at this point, I think it's going to be it's like doing a phase 1, a phase 2, a phase 3 in archaeology, but we're doing it with the structure to see if we can in any way verify it. Okay, so, and
So
I
do
don't,
we-
Chris, in the Virginia room, if there's anything there from early days of, sometimes you find interesting documents in odd places. And so this would be when Sully first came to the Park Authority, 1959, and then Eddie Wagstaff, this is in the 60s. So I have, it could, the information could be all these different places. So,
yeah.
Amy, you have your hand up. That's my proposing. I need I'm not staff anymore.
So it sounds like this is not unfamiliar to most of the Park Authority staff, but they need a cat herder, and I am very good at herding cats. So I will get those cats together and probably take a visit to see Chris, and then out to Sully to see Carol Herrick and to see the structure itself. Head out to my friends at the courthouse, see what they know, and poke at that planter. I never would have guessed that planter was a well, not in a million years.
Well, you know who told me that? Heather.
Oh, there you go. She knows things.
She said that it had been dumped out there, and there it stood. It was Heather or Katrina, but I think it was Heather. Do you know what I mean? It's just like,
yeah.
Oh.
It's that institutional knowledge. So what I'll do is, if it's all right with y'all, I will get what information I can together and report back to you at our next meeting in August. I can't promise that I'll have a solid, we're ready to do X or Y, but I can at least get those cats in a group, if that's all right.
Mary, let's see.
Yeah, one thing we have to also consider is the master plan for that whole area. They're going to make that whole area historical, and I've heard rumors that they are going to take that well out of there. And that, so I'm just throwing that out, that's one place. I mean, I've attended many meetings there, but I don't have it memorized as to what they're going to do. But one of the things they're thinking about is moving Legato over into that area. Yeah.
So that's very much on point, Mary. I was thinking the same thing, is that we need to coordinate with that master plan.
Yeah, and I know that also with the master plan, they wanted to do some archaeology of where the cannons were and where the Mar monument. So that might not be the place where it would go anyway. So that's why I just said anywhere. I'd like to go down this road. So I appreciate everybody willing to have us go down this road, and we'll see what comes up with it.
Well, yeah, I mean, we can certainly investigate. I mean, another issue that we have to be concerned about is the structural integrity of both elements and whether or not they can be safely moved.
Yep, absolutely.
Or what that cost would be. So,
yes.
Well, and the master plan may just think it's a planter.
yes.
Yeah.
So providing the information, is going to be useful regardless. It might parlay into something else, perhaps signage or something like that. But and Amy, thank you very, 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 very much for taking on herding cats.
Yes, Amy.
Thank you.
That's very kind of you. Chris has his hand up.
I was just going to chime in real quick. I'm going to send an email to all of the interested parties. Earlier this year, Laura Arsenault asked for research on there was a Fairfax County Public School property at Burke Station Road and 236 that was built in the, I think, 1929, 1930 as originally as a road construction camp. But we found a picture from 1935 that actually has the gazebo hanging out there, and it was moved from there to, I guess, Sully, and it had been there for a number of years. And I know Heather had found some documentation that it was moved from the courthouse to, quote, a county facility. So it seems that it's one and the same, but I'll send you the picture and the other things that I
Super.
found.
I knew we needed to include Chris in this. I mean, that's just where everything is in that little room up there.
That's right.
Excellent. All right. Any other comments or suggestions?
Thank you. I really appreciate this.
Okay, excellent. All right. So then moving along, Tammy, tell us about your new historic house.
The new historic house. I actually have some PowerPoint slides because this is like breaking news. And so I thought it would be best if I gave you some context on what I think we're looking at. So we're still working to confirm. So let me see if I can share. Let's see. Oops. Open share tray. See. Things are going a little slow. Maybe it's because we have so many great people here. Okay, so I have opened the share tray. Aha, okay. And let me see if I can get my PowerPoint up here. Oh, look at this. Okay. Let's do from the beginning. From the beginning, not questions and thoughts.
I don't see it yet.
There we go. All right. Are you seeing it now?
No, we just see you and everybody else.
Huh. Well, that is strange. All right.
You
Can
might
you
have to
share-
select the right window that you're going to share.
Can
All
you
right, let me try this again. Let me go back here. Let me try it again. I thought I selected the correct window, but. All right. Is that working yet?
No.
Well, phooey.
There he goes.
There.
You got
Yep.
Yep.
it? Okay. All right. So this is 8146 Wellington Road. So let me see if I can get, oh my goodness. Okay, so the reason why I'm telling you about this is it's really cool. So, and I'm very excited about it. And I want you guys to take a look at this property, and if it's related to Wellington and River Farm. We have some oral history accounts that we're going to talk about. And could I have taken it right to the inventory committee? Sure. But also, I think there's some things that apply to advocacy. So to consider ways that that the History Commission and others can support preservation of these privately owned historic homes. This thing is not on our inventory, not yet on our inventory, and there are other things that aren't. But then we have things like the Holland Hall Spinning House that's on our inventory, and there are ways maybe we could support that. It's been looked at by developers, so development is happening so quickly, that I really want to look out for these things. So I wanted some help brainstorming any next steps. There might also be a role for the Architecture Review Board in here. I don't know. So this is the house, and I was called by the real estate agent who he had an open house. I guess it was last weekend before last. And he had all kinds of people coming in saying, did you know that this was part of George Washington's estate? Well, everything that's in the Vernon district practically is part of George Washington's estate. But, and they said it dates back to the 1700s, the original core of the house. It has, original cast iron door handles and carved doors and floors and all of that stuff. So I said, well, let me go take a look. So I did. Now, this is what the house looks like from the road, which does not look very old, right? And let me just actually go back here. So the right-hand photo is the newer edition. This left-hand photo is the older core of the house. And it does look like it was built in phases. This is what it looks like from behind, which this looks a bit older, right? And it actually has some similarities to Wellington when you look at it. It's got the stucco exterior, that really skinny door on the right-hand side. So it does look older, right? So, and I was going to say, you can see that cellar door there. And if you want to know, yes, I really did go down in there. Because. So, and then this is a closer look at some of the, some of the edging on there. So you've got some old hardware on there. Who knows how old the bricks are? Those could have been put in at any time. But this just gives you a little bit of an idea of what it looks like close up. This is interior. The room on the right-hand side is what looks like it would be the oldest part of the house. And it's a fairly small room, like maybe 12 by 12. The door that's there now leads into a bathroom. And I don't know if you can see the handle on there, but they basically look like mop handles as the as the door handle used to open and close. And then this place on the left-hand side has been made into a kitchen area, but who knows how old that is too. And the door does look like it's got some very old hardware on it, probably, from a blacksmith, put that in there. So this is in that main room that I showed you, the original room. This is the floor here. Obviously some nails in there, and then this is the window trim. So that just gives you an idea of close up what it looks like. The ceiling is curved in there, obviously plaster, but it looks pretty darn old. So this is where we're talking about. So Wellington at River Farm, you can see the dot there with the circle driveway. Just below that is the driveway to Dan Snyder's house, Riverview. And that was the original driveway to River Farm and Riverview. It was a shared driveway. And that was sold, I think that was sold to the owners of Riverview back in the 90s, or maybe traded for some waterfront land there. So that road used to be Wellington Road. And you can kind of see across there how Wellington Road, it used to connect through there, before the parkway was built. The home that we're talking about is at the intersection of West Boulevard and Wellington Road, just to the south of that. So that's where we're going to be zeroing in on. So, and this shows you a little bit better. In the upper right, you can see the word outlet. That's the driveway to Riverview, the original River Farm driveway. And if you go straight across from that, you'll see an angled property line there. That was Wellington Road. And then this is where the property sits. So the older part of the home is right there, kind of in that point. So that is where that is. So yeah, so Wellington Road, it's on a lot of old maps from the 1800s. So this has been around for a while. So this shows you where the original, it was called Walnut Tree Farm in Washington's day. And it's labeled there with an E on his 5 farm maps because that particular piece of property was not one that George Washington ever farmed himself. It was a tenant farm, and then he gave lifetime use of it to his nephew, George Augustine Washington, who married Martha Washington's niece, Fanny Bassett. George Augustine Washington built Wellington, but he died before it was completed. And then Tobias Lear married Fanny Bassett. I know that's a lot of detail, but that just gives you an idea of where the piece of land is. And there's some oral history that while George Augustine Washington was building that home, he may have stayed in this quarter, it was called. And I'll show you this right here. This is Tobias Lear's survey of that exact piece that I was showing you. When he married Fanny Bassett, very soon after that in 1795, he did this survey with Bartholomew Dandridge, who is Martha Washington's brother. I'm not positive, but anyway, Martha Washington's relative. So you can see the house on there in the upper right-hand part. So that's the Wellington home. And then there's 2 buildings that you see southwest of that. So there's one labeled barn, and then the lower one is labeled quarter. And this quarter one is the one that we think has a possibility of being that original core of the home. So it's kind of an interesting thing to try to figure this out. I've looked at the aerial photos from 1937, and it's a bit blurry. It's hard to, you really can't see anything there, but it's a small enough building that it could have been obscured by trees. So we're trying to figure out if there's any records. So far, we haven't found any records in the deeds of this building, but it does look fairly old. So it's hard to imagine that it wasn't there before 1937, or we can definitely see it on 1953. So that's kind of what we have going there. So my question is, we can work with these owners. The house is under contract, and I don't think it went to somebody who's interested in development. A lot of people are doing development in that area because these are double lots. And so we're seeing a lot of 1950s homes come down in favor of building two large, very large homes on these lots. So it looks like it's being purchased by a private owner who is interested in history. So we can approach them and see if they're interested in putting it on the inventory. But in the meantime, this home has very old electrical in there, and I'm concerned that perhaps they're going to get somebody in to fix the roof or the electrical. Do we have a way that we can reach out to them and assist them with finding, folks who will help them to keep the integrity while they're making these changes to it? Is the ARB, could they give them advice on that? Are there things that we could do honestly, with any of our inventory properties that could help with maybe getting archaeology at some of these sites? Could we do a cost sharing for archaeology? So these are just some ideas that were floating around in my head. I don't know if you guys have some additional ideas, but I just wanted to get out there and show you what's there and, introduce this idea. We'll see, we'll see what we can confirm on the site, through documentation, but it might take having an architectural historian out to the property to take a closer look. I am meeting with them on Friday morning at 10. So if we know anybody who's available Friday morning at 10, that's sort of the first opportunity to get a look there. But anyway, so ideas, thoughts.
I have some questions. This is Subi. This is purely out of my ignorance. So do we have any criteria that we follow to put structures in the inventory? I mean, my question is fairly radical in the sense that do we put resources behind every old structure, or what are the guidelines around it?
So there aren't, resources don't accompany the inventory. It just allows it's a mechanism that allows the Department of Planning and Community Development to to recognize that it's a historic site as opposed to just any other kind of regular development. The inventory committee does have a set of criteria that we go through. Very similar. We basically follow the National Register to some extent. I mean, that's kind of the model for our proceeding. So we look at things like historical integrity and character, how it fits into the history, what kind of property does it represent? Is it the site of a person that's of significance? Is it a site, an architectural significance? Those sorts of questions. So there's a form. There's a form.
So I think what would Tammy, not to make your job difficult, but I think any kind of discussion like this, what would help me is that to have that form and see how many of those criteria does this property fulfill. Sure. So we can prioritize. Everything is tied to resources, whether it's just volunteer time or
that's true.
Time, that we need to prioritize resources at the end of the day.
Good point. Barbara.
I was just going to tell Subi that she can go onto our site and she goes to the inventory and all the information is there as to what we look for when we evaluate everything. So that's one thing. I think that it's certainly worth looking into. We're just asking questions. It's sort of like what we're doing with the gazebo. We're to ask questions and see what we can find out here and whether it's worth pursuing anything else. It's Tammy's resource effort, and so I applaud you because I think it's, again, when you look at the front and then when you look at the back, and if in fact the door hardware is not reproduction and it's original, then that's a factor that attempting to see if it's worth pursuing. I think that's what you're trying to do at this time, right, Tammy?
Right. That's precisely it. And it's and I also I'm just starting to I wanted to start a conversation because we're having so many of these things that are happening so quickly.
Yes.
And I mean, this went on the market. Nobody knew anything about it. I mean, I guess the neighbors knew something about it, but it wasn't even on our radar. And a developer could have, be purchasing that. I mean, somebody who has the intent to tear this down, and and we're behind the 8 ball already.
Right.
So just trying to think proactively about, how do we approach these things? So that's all. I mean, I thought it was an interesting thing to spark discussion.
Yes.
Sue Schumann.
I had a question. While Tammy was talking also, I was looking at the Redfin listing for this $1.8 million house, which I'll bet went for more than that. In any case, there is a historic marker on the house by this neighborhood Friends of Mount Vernon. Has that?
So that's actually, it's not really a historic marker. Anyone who lives in the 5 farm on the George Washington's original 5 farms can pay their dues and get one of those markers on the house. So my 1960s house could have it on there. The modern part of that house can have it on there. So it's a vanity plate kind of in a way. I mean, it's nice. It's nice, but every home on the 5 farms can have that marker on there. Oh, and one thing that I didn't show you is on one of the plats that I have, there is a, I guess it's the 1921 plat. There's something that says concrete marker on it. And it actually is a Mount Vernon Memorial Highway right-of-way concrete marker, which so it's no longer on this property. It actually is on the next street over, but it's kind of neat that is still there. That's on the 1921 plat.
Mm-hmm. So Tammy, you said that you think that this building might correspond to a building that was labeled as quarter in the map, the Wellington map.
Right.
And quarter usually refers to housing for enslaved people.
Yes.
And, because I mean, when I saw the building, to me, it looked like an outbuilding, not a residence, but that would be potentially consistent with a slave quarter, construction.
Right.
Although I don't see a significant hearth, but I know somebody who specializes in looking at Dennis Pogue, specializes in looking and maintains an inventory of housing for enslaved people in Virginia. And so, I'd be happy to go out with you on Friday the 10th. And I think I can make that at 10 o'clock and take a look at the basement and things like that and see if it looks like, it's kind of worth inviting him out to take a look at it.
Right. I had the same thought that, that I thought quarter might, predominantly be used for enslaved, and I wasn't sure. And its proximity to the barn, makes that a possibility. The neighbors have also, I forgot to tell you this oral history, said that the wood floors on the adjacent rooms, which are a little bit later, but maybe still not 20th century, that the wood for the floors was from the barn. So, and that's possible, but again, it's oral history. So sometimes we get good nuggets. But I'm not positive how that will work out. But anyway, that would be great. So I think it would be nice to have experts. I took some pictures when I went through last week, but it was all very quick, just grabbing what I could. But so there's certainly more opportunities for better pictures.
Yeah, we could do that. Do some good photo documentation.
Sally, did you have?
Guess not.
Sally, you just have to unmute yourself.
A quarter can also be an overseer's house, which can be more substantial than slave quarters, and could be used by someone who needed a place to live temporarily, spruce it up a little bit while they're living, getting the other house built. Yeah, do get an architectural historian in there. That's what you need to do.
Yes.
To look at it. Yeah.
That would be good. And I think that the real estate agent has reached out to Mount Vernon to see, if they're interested in coming to look at it. And I think, when he reached out, I'm not sure that he had, this Tobias Lear's map in hand, that kind of stuff. So, so I may reach out to them as well. I did invite Kevin Green, who's the Virginia florist in this area. He's a lifelong resident of Wellington, and so he knew some of this oral history, and he also pointed out some of the other features around the property. One thing that I learned from I have a friend who lives next door to this property, just coincidentally, and she told me in the early 20th century that this, one person owned the entire area, and then it was a juniper tree farm, that they were growing juniper trees to be sold to the National Park Service to line the streets. And there are a lot of cedar. The red cedar is the Juniper virginialis, I think.
Mhm.
And so you see a lot of these trees everywhere. And in fact, the Wellington driveway that now belongs to Dan Snyder is lined with cedar trees, and we've got photos of it from 1908. So so the trees kind of are part of the story here. On the 1937 properties, you can see rows of trees, almost as if somebody has planted them for growing. And so I did kind of wonder about, the Tree Commission and whether whether they would be interested in historic trees that would be in that area. So just a different idea. Oh, Barbara, did you have something?
Yes, I wanted to suggest that you talk to Susan Hellman and see what she knows.
Oh, good idea. Good idea. Yeah, that's great. No, these are good suggestions. So very good. And I am meeting with the Wellington folks, the River Farm folks next week to talk to them about a variety of issues. But so I will introduce them to this idea as well. So they might be curious about the connection to this property. So
Okay.
Interesting stuff.
Mhm.
So all right. Well, excellent. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate you you allowing me to share this exciting, I think it's exciting,
I do too.
historic house. And so we'll see what it might mean for other homes that are on our inventory too. Like, are there things that we can do to guide these, owners of historic homes, no matter how old they are, just if they want to retain the integrity of what they have. So, all right, thank you.
All right. And if you could stop sharing your screen.
All right, let me see. For some reason, I'm not getting my microphone bar. I'm not getting those options.
We'll move on.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. I got it.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So we're going to thank you for bringing that to our attention. Sounds interesting, intriguing. We'll see what happens. Committee reports. At least, do you feel like you can make a committee report, or would you rather for budget and or inventory?
For budget, Cheryl, I'm still waiting for the information that you promised me you'd get me in April.
What information is that?
The data, the financial data.
So you should have received 2000, the previous two. Okay, we'll deal with that offline. Okay.
We'll deal with that because I have not received. I've only received one piece.
Okay.
And that basically, when I get the budget information together, I'll send it out to the entire commission, and whoever wants to be on the budget committee can participate. With the inventory committee, we met last week. We discussed multiple property nominations, and basically it's just what it sounds like. It's based on the National Register, and we've essentially decided to wait and see how this works out in the future. If Anne or Barbara wants to say more, that's fine, but that's really the extent of it.
Okay.
Barbara.
Okay, Anne and I worked on this and put together two approaches to this and presented it to the committee, and we had some detailed discussion. Denise was very much involved with this, and she was part of the suggestion that where something like this would work would be in areas that are being identified in the African American community survey that's going on, because in some instances you just have, I'll use Audrick's Corner as an example, you have bits and pieces of things and by themselves do not, you know, Audrick's home place is there, but there are other things. So that was an example. So what we all decided to do is, while we're thinking about it, it's a little more complicated than just, okay, this is how it's going to be. So we are going to wait and see how, what the final product is of the African American survey. Mary Ruffin is working on it now, and we had given her a great deal of information. So some of the things that are important, but they're, what's left is the sense of community, and it would be something that we could use this type of identification. So, and add anything more, but I think so. You know, we made progress and we are at a place where we're holding to see what comes next and how we can use it. Is that okay, Elise?
Sounds good.
Okay, and Anne, I don't know what you want to say.
Good. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Moving along then. History conference, Lynn is not here, and basically I attached a copy of the draft agenda. You know, they've progressed in terms of a list of some interesting speakers, and they're also excited about a menu, and we're progressing on that. Sorry, just have to flip to the right page here. Where is the right page? Here we go. So I guess, Mary, are you up next?
Is that the marker committee?
I have lost part of my.
I think AHI usually comes
I
first.
can do AHI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Phyllis is ready.
Okay, go ahead, Phyllis.
Okay. Our committee did not meet in June and will not be meeting in July. We are currently waiting on the MOU to be signed. And as soon as that is signed by George Mason and by the county executive, then we will notify committee members and work on our publicity for rolling the database out. That's our report.
Okay, sounds good. Looking forward to seeing that database. That was should be fun. All right, Gretchen, semi-quincentennial.
You're getting better at that, Cheryl. Everything is really listed on the report, but Nova Parks wanted to hold a regional meeting. So that was held on June 30th by Zoom, and several of you attended. I know I saw instance there. And the information is available on the Nova Parks YouTube, but basically I said a few things about what the commemoration is and the different entities, and then Scott Stroh, who also serves on the State Commission, talked a little bit about how this commemoration is going to be a little bit different than 1976. And then Cheryl Wilson, who is the staff person for the Virginia 250 Commission, explained some of the opportunities that localities will have as far as grants and the logo use and coordinated calendar, things like that. And she's completely accessible to everybody, but she will start doing regular quarterly meetings and even have meetings up here in Northern Virginia for us to participate in. So again, very much for those of you who are involved in the sesquicentennial planning, it's very much the same footprint. So we have a good leader at the helm. So the State Commission meeting was actually today. I wasn't able to go with my work schedule, but they have developed a logo and a tagline. They are working on a history mobile and some initial conferences. So that information will be coming out. And then our Fairfax County work group, and of course, many of you sit on that as well, met last week at the Visit Fairfax offices. It was, I could say this because I'm a friend of Scott. It was just a gripping meeting, right? We talked about bylaws and the remote attendance policy. So that's about what we got accomplished. And the next meeting will be August 3rd. So we're still not planning to meet until we kind of get all these other houses in order. And then we'll go ahead and start our History Commission meeting. So that's basically what's going on.
And Gretchen,
Griffin described it well.
Gretchen?
If I can add, that through the bylaws, the county commission has adopted the name 250th commission because semi-quincentennial is so hard to say.
But it's so fun to try.
Yes, it is.
We're getting it. It's rolling. So
It rolls.
Janae,
You get the hang of it.
Gretchen, I was
Janae,
sorry. Gretchen, I was unable to watch your Zoom call last week. So I go on the NOVA website. What website do I go
Nova
to?
Parks.
Nova Parks.
Yeah. Northern Virginia. Yeah. It's right here by our house, right? Their YouTube channel.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Sure. I don't
anybody
think
else?
you really missed anything. This is
Oh,
very
really?
introductory. It's just kind of the basic things we've been talking about.
Okay.
It's the structure of the national, the state, the county, and then every region will have its own, and we'll kind of meet quarterly to make sure we're sharing information and resources, because of all events, of all times, it's like we're all going to do the same thing on the same weekends, right? So we need to really plan what we're doing and make sure it's very well coordinated. Not that, and we are going to have too many conflicts with Loudoun or Prince William. We have enough people in this county to fill an event, but we're really looking at the year 2026. We'll do some pre-things, but our focus needs to be 26, not from now until the end of Yorktown. We're not doing that. There are people who want to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
All right. Thanks so much for updating us, Gretchen.
Sure.
And for making bylaws sound like fun. Advocacy and annual report, Anne.
All right, we have several things to talk to you guys about. One, of course, is hooray, the 2021 annual report is done. Just in case anybody forgot all the thank yous in the beginning of this meeting, Subi from far, far away and Tammy from right here were able to pull together this very good looking annual report, and the PowerPoint was good, wasn't it? Good job. It just, we never did that before. It looked terrific. I want Sue and Tammy to tell us about Tinner Hill and Gum Springs, covering those events. But before I don't know what order to do this in. First, let me tell you what I want to ask for, and that is we're desperate for a budget. We need Sue to be able to write some checks to cover some things, because if we're going to really be going out, we've been to quite a few events this year. We need copying of brochures. We could use a new banner, or the tablecloth with the logo in front. Now and then people just love to see hard copies of these reports, and they're always trying to take them, the big fat reports. Other brochures, you're just down to your last few bits, like the History Commission overview. We were printing them on our own computers, not very successfully. The inventory trifold, the things about the AAHI. There's so many. we can put stuff on the conference. There's so much about us. And when you're in a big public setting, engaging with people, they look at your table and they really think about taking stuff. So before we get to the nuts and bolts of that, I'll just get Sue first to tell about Tenor Hill, and then Tammy about your events. Over to you, Sue.
Okay. I thought we had a really successful day. We had nearly 50 people who actually either spoke to us, took literature, and about 5 leads on possible things for the History Commission. So I thought that was successful. And Barbara and Ann also were there. We did not stay together, all 3 of us, for anyone who thinks that 3 of us may have spoken together that day. But we manned the table and we went out and
She's frozen. I'm seeing a frozen Sue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sue, can you hear us?
One thing. Pardon? That is the one thing that the festival organizer wanted from us. And Anne priced that out, and it would be $40 for us to get 1 copy from a small publisher. And we have been, all of us, doing these things on our own dying printers. So we would like to, I think maybe Anne has an amount of money in mind or something. For advocacy purposes, we do need to print some things in addition to this one nice thank you, which I'd like to do a letter and have Cheryl, thank Tenor Hill for inviting us. It was an interesting day because it was a music festival, and a lot of people don't care maybe about history, but we were right there in the tent with Providence Players, which a lot of us have known about over the years, and also with the Tenor Hill History Foundation. So we really made a lot of good contacts. And the only thing coming away from the day is we need more stuff to show people, because those brochures, the inventory, the basic thing about what we do, resources. I mean, we had to watch those 2 things that we had on the table to not walk off by themselves.
We have to chain them. We have to chain them in.
Yeah, exactly. Or we need to put a little something on it, like a little rope, so people didn't do that because they would have gone, which is really great. This is popular. This means we're doing our work. And I did find out there also is a history club at Marshall High School. So one of the things that I'm going to do is try to find out more from the teacher there about what they want. We have a history conference. We can go speak to them. We can do all kinds of things, but we need to kind of maybe go down to that level, and I'll find out if there are other history clubs here that we can also do some advocacy with.
One thing I liked was Supervisor Palchik mentioned that we were getting out in the community. She's aware of what you're up to, Sue. And okay. I thought that was good. She spoke briefly and very positively about it last Tuesday.
Thank you. The day after Tenor Hill, we held a thing here at one of the parks in my neighborhood to welcome people since 2019 who moved to our neighborhood. So we had her there with her baby and a lot of other people. So yeah, it was one great weekend. But thank you, Anne, for all your work on this.
Good advocating. All right, and then
one of the other things I would just like to say is in terms of needing funding, I'm finding that some events are going to require us to pay a table fee. So we don't always make it in on, the kindness of someone or free. So, that should be part of our budget as well.
And sorry, Mary, did you want to say something?
I was going to say, people love 2 other things that I've seen at tables like that. Some photographs, Chris would be a source for that. And, you can even put them into a sleeve, a notebook sleeve, so that they're not going to be torn. And the other thing I love is maps. We bring out maps to the Oak Hill, and they're just, huge maps on foam board. But boy, they get down and try and find where their house is and all this stuff. So those are just suggestions too, if you have enough room, And
we're always giving out, when we have got them with us, your marker maps.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, people love those.
Those were really popular. I think I had one left.
Yeah.
I was going to say I only have 20. If we want to update them, they told us we could always do that because we're about 4 markers behind now.
Okay, good. So can I go over to Tammy and just a brief rundown of Juneteenth at
Right.
Oh, sorry, Subi,
Wait, Subi, yeah.
Yeah, I just have a procedural question before we leave the budget discussion. So I heard lots of need for money, and I know that we have a lot of unexpended money. I mean, we shouldn't have to come with such pleas, you know. So my question is, what is your standard operating procedure for the treasurer to write a check?
What I was going to do, Subi, she needs a vote. So my feeling is, I see if this is what would be sufficient. If we say spend up to $1,500, I mean, we're still formulating the budget because we're still kind of, we've priced a lot of things, but there's going to be some unforeseen or unpriced things. So if tonight we were to do a not to exceed amount, would that give Sue enough information to write checks for advocacy up to that amount, as long as they fit under the motion that we passed tonight?
So my question, I remember the last budget motion that we discussed for months was about the procurement of the Teams software. And my question is, should we have a floor and a ceiling in which triggers a motion? Like if the budget is less than 500, can we not have a discussion? I mean, anyway, you get the point.
That's a good question. I think maybe for the budget committee, and that, and maybe I don't know whether that gets into bylaws, but we do have. I will say this is we do have specific. We've done some pricing on some of the things Ann's talked about, and so the tablecloth, right off the bat, a custom tablecloth is about $300. The printing of the AAHI publication, getting 1,000 copies of a brochure that we have the QR code on. It's all designed and ready to go. We're waiting for the MOU. That's going to cost about $300 for that. And then I think in August, we've talked about doing the same kind of thing for the conference. So that'll be another $300. So right there, we're at $900 and we haven't done any additional brochures. So those are some itemized things that would be on the list. So that kind of backs up the idea of 1,500.
It's other brochures, and then as Mary says, it's getting photographs and
these are all very good reasons. I think what I'm trying to say is that, do we really need such a long discussion to spend this much?
No, not at all. We're partly bragging about what the advocacy meet is doing. We're trying to get to the point of making this motion. And in the course of that, we're saying what great things we're doing. So I'm sorry if that part is dragging on, but we didn't want to just start and end with a motion. We wanted to let you know how important it is to be reaching out in the communities, and we're finding a lot of success, and we would urge each of you in your own magisterial districts to keep an eye out for these kinds of events, because advocacy is real happy to support them.
Right. Sorry, Cheryl. I'm actually reacting to still burning from the ad nauseum discussion we had on that Teams software, and I just don't want things to be repeated. I hope we have sort of learned some lessons.
Yeah, that was somewhat
in the past.
But Elise has her hand up, and then Barbara Nave.
Who's going?
The History Commission's policy is that we make very specific motions on our expenditures. That is our policy. It's also what the finance office of the Department of Planning and Zoning requires. So I think that this motion for tonight should come in with some information in advance, like a memo, itemizing what you all are wanting to do instead of doing this on the fly during a meeting?
Yeah, we have two very specific quotes. But now that you tell me the specificity that you're many of my organizations are different from that. And thank you, Subi, for bringing it up too. So if we need very specific, we can't do a not to exceed or something, then we'll just have to work with that.
You need to be more specific in what you're asking for. The whole idea is.
Elise froze.
Froze out,
We
yeah.
as a whole decide on their expenditures. It isn't up to Sue to decide, oh, is this okay or not okay?
No, that's what we're discussing tonight, is what is satisfactory.
And you need some documentation in advance to do it.
Got it. Oh, good. Don't strain. We get it. Who's
Barbara?
next? Who's next?
Yes, I was just going to, this is again background, but we used to say, you know, the treasurer could write a check for up to a certain amount, and beyond that, no. And when we put the budget together, they're by line items, just like the county budget is. And this is general areas, and we can take our money and we the commission, wherever it is that we need it. So it's not that big a problem. You just, as chair, you need to say you're going to use this much money, and then go to the treasurer. And as Lee says, you have to be specific about what you want. And so we now maybe need a line item that says advocacy, which we haven't had before. At least it's not yet. That's what it is. If you look at the old budget that we have, there are line items. There's preservation. There's consultants. There's a place where we take the money that we end up providing to archaeology. So I would say we need a line item that says advocacy, which is a formal thing, and then put money in there. That's your pot. And so, Elise, I hope this is right, but I mean, it's not that complicated. We just need to get it listed. And so, and your meeting, not here, but in your committee meeting, you decide approximately you're going to spend 1,500, you're going to spend 1,000, whatever. And that's what then should be presented. Right, Elise?
Yes.
But what you're saying is that's not sufficient for Sue to write checks up to that 2,000? Are you saying that each
Sue can't. Sue can't write a check without a motion, a specific motion.
No.
Got it.
That is too. That's true.
No, we make a motion to give Lynn $3,000 for the conference. She decides whether she wants to buy flowers or tablecloths or how she is spending that $3,000 for food or what have you. I mean, we do not make her come and tell us every time she wants a motion for, $50 of flowers.
Barbara, that is the only exception to the rule. And it's not one that I particularly like or care for. But that is the only exception. What other checks did you write without specific motions in the past, other than the conference?
What I would propose for today, since we've priced two very specific things, is to request, if anybody wants to follow up on this or support this, we know very much we need the AAHI brochure, and it will cost $300 for 1,000. I'm saying 300 to take into account tax and any delivery, or not to. Can we do a not to exceed? And then 300 on the tablecloth. If not, I mean, I guess we could, if that's not appropriate, we can't wait around. I don't mind. Can we expense these things and come back later for very specific? I spent $302 on X. Can I be reimbursed?
And make a motion tonight for up to $300 for the brochures and up to $300 for the tablecloth.
Is that good?
And that will satisfy everything for tonight. Your future expenditures will cross down the road.
Okay, so we'll add to it in August. So my motion for tonight is to spend up to to approve that advocacy use up to $300 to print the AAHI brochures when it's appropriate, it's ready to go, and up to $300 on the logo tablecloth.
I
second the motion.
Okay, and I know Esther has had her hand up. Esther, sorry for not recognizing you sooner.
That's okay. I think Sue had her hand up before I did.
Okay.
Well, and I just wanted to say that I understand Subi's question too. And it's not like I want to write checks. I understand that we have to have a motion to do it. But Barbara's point too is that sometimes you start out with the committee and you say, okay, you have $200 this year to do things, that are smaller. Anything above that, you need a permission on. But it has never been done that way, a line item thing here. Am I right? That's where my confusion is.
No, except for the history conference, which is just the exception to the rule.
Okay, as you had said, yeah, and that is very much where Lynn can make decisions with the committee and authorize the money to be paid.
Well,
More bylaws.
Lynn is supposed to get a budget passed.
Yeah.
And at least one treasurer in the past held her to that budget.
Oh, thank you for telling me.
Yeah.
So I think to address Subi,
yes. Mm-hmm.
What happens, Subi, is that we need to discuss. I know it sounds very painstakingly drawn out, but you have 20 people that need to discuss and say what's on their mind to figure out the best solution when making a decision. It looks like I can't say the word, and committee needs to come back to us with some things in writing and present them to us from the committee. So whatever and you are doing, put it on a piece of paper and come back so it can become a part of the budget as we spoke.
That's a good point.
But for right now, though, we do have a motion on the floor with regard to $300 for printing.
I'm interested in that.
And you also said $300 up to for the tablecloth, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
But,
so is there
any
further
within
discussion?
that, Cheryl,
Mm-hmm.
within that, I'm getting to that part. We
Okay.
need that on the budget. In other words, this is somewhat of an exception that we're doing it this way. So if you come back to us next meeting with the budget lined out with those items that we're already allowing, that would satisfy the whole procedure.
Yeah, we need to speak to our budget person and committee and to get a budget for this added to our budget. And we're going to be doing a whole new budget anyway. So it'll fit nicely into, but we just need it now. We're going to do budgets for the future. So we just need to jigger it around now. Okay, thank you, everybody. What other hands we still got?
I'm so sorry, but I have one last question. So I'm hearing that my question was, what are the standard operating procedures? So now I'm hearing that we have standard operating procedures. So I would very much like to know what they are in writing. If they are, please somebody send them around so that we all know what we are doing. There shouldn't be this confusion every time. And there should not be exceptions to the rule unless that exception is documented.
We could put it in our policy manual.
Yes, so they're not written. I mean, where is this codified?
I don't think they're written.
So then how do we say that we have policies?
They are from old minutes.
Yeah, and I'll say this is that that we have a lot allocated money toward the Virginia Room or different surveys that we've done, and we have not done it with advance notice. So we are doing lots of exceptions to our policy.
So we have no policies. So can we then request that the budget committee come up with some standard operating procedures that we then agree on as a whole commission, please.
Yeah, good idea.
Thank you.
Okay. With regard to the motion that's on the floor, though, is there any further
There's some
discussion with?
hands. There's still some hands. Look at
Oh, is
Tammy.
Barbara?
Mine.
Barbara, you,
I think she's muted. Let's see.
yeah, I see her mouth moving.
Apologies, my apologies. Part of the issue is that we haven't had the budget that's been in my notebook, which lists all this and lists the procedure. The newer members on the commission haven't seen it because we haven't had it since pre-COVID and even before that. All right, and it's a listing. It shows what we've done, the past year, the future year, it's all there. So we do have them. And so the issue is getting the current one updated. I'm on the budget committee. Elise is the chair of the budget committee. This isn't financial, this is budget. And we haven't met in a long, long time. And so I understand it, Elise understands it, but not everyone does. So it's not as confusing as it appears. And again, you're going to spend money on behalf of the History Commission, and it's a certain amount of money. The treasurer does it. It's bona fide. And so I don't want to make it more complicated than it has to be. So I'm just pleading that the budget committee meet separate. It's separate from finance, all right? And we look at what we have, and we're with our same amount of money, and at least this comes to you, but then we can educate the people that don't know how it works. And it's like county budget. I built county budget for years. So those of you that have worked for county or something like that know what I mean by what I'm talking about. So just peace to all, and let's move on, because this is not the place to get into all of this kind of stuff. So now do your motion, and I promise I won't say anything more the rest of the night. Thank you.
Tammy, is your hand up?
Oh, probably still. I can take it down.
Anything else, or shall we call the question?
Let's call the question.
So is there any further discussion on the question about $300 for a tablecloth, up to $300 on a tablecloth, and up to $300 on printing for the AAHI brochure?
Yeah.
Okay. Seeing no further discussion on that matter, all those in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions? Any opposition? That motion passes unanimously, and you now have up $300 for a AAHI brochure and up to $300 for a very snazzy tablecloth.
Well, we've been using Tammy's tablecloth, and we cobbled together something from other people at Tinner Hill. So we need something. Thank you.
Yes, it was a thrift store tablecloth.
Yeah, and then come up with a wish list of the other items, and we'll hopefully we'll also have a budget committee meeting, and so we can proceed with those things. All right, thank you. Do you wish to say anything further with regard to advocacy?
Anything?
I can just throw in my 2 cents about the Juneteenth event at Gum Springs.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
It was very good. It was a gorgeous day. Lots of people came out, and lots of people visited the History Commission table. So they were glad to see us there. And we talked to so many different kinds of people. So there were the people running the event that came over and talked to us, and just people who came to the event. The politicians all came over and talked to us, and that's an opportunity to really tell them what's coming. We were telling them, look out for the AHI. The database will be released soon. So that's wonderful. And I appreciate everybody, passing that motion for the brochures, because I'm hoping that we're going to get the MOU signed next month, and we'll be able to have those printed before our next meeting, I hope. So, and it was wonderful. I had to leave in the middle of the day, and the wonderful Phyllis Walker Ford and Sally Lyons came in, and they did the back half, and I hope they enjoyed it as much as I did.
Nice. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so thank you, Advocacy Committee. Moving on to markers, Mary Lipsy.
Okay, I see Janae has her hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'd missed that. Sorry, Janae. Thank you, Mary.
Oh, she took it down?
Janae, you're muted.
Okay, here I am. Okay. I also went to a event at the Bull Run Cemetery for the African Americans on Juneteenth. It was very nice. All the quite a few people were there, and we looked at one of the wonderful cemeteries, African American cemeteries that are there. So I just wanted you to be aware that we had representation. And I couldn't help but think, oh, it would have been nice to have had a table for the History Commission. So
yes, everybody
okay,
let us know ahead of time if you're going to do that, and we'll get you the right brochures,
stuff.
whatever you need.
Okay. And then also I talked to Supervisor Smith about Sully. I understand you guys gave some reports. Can I have a copy of that?
Okay.
I know I just went off topic a little bit, but because I'm on Zoom. Okay, we won't talk about that.
No, that's all right. The reports were given by Chris and Liz, and I believe that was a town hall meeting that was recorded, and you can contact Supervisor Smith's office.
Super.
But or Liz and Chris.
Okay, thanks.
So, and they were just about the history of Sully. It was background information. Markers, Mary.
Okay, I'm working with a resident who wants to submit a marker for Merrifield community and Mills Crossing together. I'm also working with the Park Authority about questions about a Park Authority sign that has been placed at Lake Accotink Park. And Liz and I are going to discuss that. We have a damaged marker. I put a picture of it if you're interested in the share file. It's the Orange and Alexandria Railroad trestle. They believe a semi-tractor trailer knocked it over, but they snapped it. The whole text part was snapped off and the pole was bent. So I believe that a whole new marker is going to have to be done, including the pole. Sometimes we can just replace the top part, but this will be the whole thing. Lake Accotink Park Manager Dan has agreed to pack up the marker for CWA. I understand there is funding in the budget for maintenance of markers, and I'm presuming that the park staff can reinstall the marker since they took it down. They got the pieces together. So if there's not any questions, I'd like to make a motion to get funding for the replacement marker. Are there any questions? Okay. I would like to move that the History Commission approve up to $2,500 to pay for the replacement marker at Lake Accotink Park.
Second.
Who is, sorry, those were two voices simultaneously. I think, was that Liz?
Esther and who was that, Margaret?
I thought let Esther do it. I said second, but it's okay.
Okay, well, Esther and Barbara. All right. Thank you. So any discussion about approving up to $2,500 to replace the Lake Accotink marker, the marker at Lake Accotink about the railroad trestle? Okay. Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposition? Any abstentions? Okay, motion passes unanimously. All right, so.
Okay, I'm continuing, if I may. There'll be a marker dedication ceremony for the Mclean Volunteer Firehouse, which got put in during the pandemic. The dedication is on Sunday, August 21st at 1 p.m. The address is the Old Firehouse, 1440 Chainbridge Road. Again, this information is in the share file if you want to look up the address, but it's Sunday, August 21st at 1 p.m. All right, I'm going to move on to the historical marker project, unless anybody has any questions about History Commission markers. Okay. The voting committee selected 14 out of 58 submissions for consideration as a marker. I have asked fellow commissioners Barbara Naif, Cheryl Rapetti, and Phyllis Walker Ford to join me in reviewing these submissions, which is part of this plan on the project from the beginning, that once they have their submissions, that it would be reviewed, and we will be looking to make sure that they topics could meet the standards of the History Commission marker guidelines. Then the committee will choose from these that we agree meet the standards that'll move on to possibly be a marker. We're assuming that liaison will do research and writing the text for the markers, and the same review committee will review the text before they are sent out to be ordered. Are there any questions on that?
I'll just clarify that it's not the liaison, but staff that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Staff person who would just would be assisting.
Okay. What is the name again? I'll change that.
Just you can just say staff.
Okay, staff. Okay. Okay. Any questions? Okay. Do I do cemetery now?
No, I was going to say I had a question.
Tammy, sorry. Go ahead, Tammy.
So my question is, will the 58 submissions and the 14 suggestions be publicly available? The reason why I'm asking is that, we had some ideas for markers in the Mount Vernon district, and I wouldn't want to duplicate effort. And I'm also interested in what the what the submissions were by the students and all of that.
That's a very good question, Tammy. And we have a meeting on Friday, and that'll be one of my first questions, because Cheryl and I have been keeping them close to our vest. And I will tell you that all 58 submissions, children that are involved in it, will get a certificate of participation. Okay. Good. And then the 14 groups, because there are groups that made submissions, will get more recognition and actually be asked to come to the Board of Supervisors to appreciate. So that's all in the works.
Nice.
And the 14 will be published on the website.
Right. We just don't want to until we have the go ahead. We don't want to be naming names and
stuff
like that.
But eventually we'll have that. That's great. It sounds like a really successful turnout.
Yeah, Kid 58 when we were really worried for a while. So yeah. Okay. All right. Any other questions about that? Okay. Should I go on to cemetery?
Sure.
Okay. We have a draft MOA between the Cemetery Committee of the History Commission and the Fairfax County Cemetery Preservation Association. It is still with the county attorney for review. We had a very successful consortium meeting on June 13th. We are working with other cemetery preservation groups to organize ourselves as a joint effort to protect the cemeteries. So we had a representative from Stafford, Prince William, Arlington, Alexandria, Culpeper, and Fairfax. So that was fantastic. And we're going to meet again in September and discuss the possibility of us actually doing something during October Preservation Month, and where do we go forth, with this consortium. I also like to encourage all commissioners, if you have spare time, to visit our website. It's Honor Fairfax Cemeteries, plural, honorfairfaxcemeteries.org. And we have a lot of neat information about preservation and projects we've done. We have veteran databases. We have bios of veterans. So if you have some spare time, I'd love for you to spend some time there. And that's it.
Okay. So Mary, there was information about changing street. Was that just
I'm going to do that as an announcement at the end.
Okay. All right. I didn't understand. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Ethnic. Oh, sorry. Does anybody have any questions, comments for Mary? Okay. Then moving along. Esther.
Thank you. The committee attempted to meet in June. We had 3 people and the chair. So we did not feel it appropriate to move forward with the meeting because it would not have been representative. I understand everybody has personal things and so forth, but if you will, committee, review the emails that have been sent and reply to me, I would appreciate it, so that we can establish a date of the month to meet. This last time we got bumped because I didn't turn it in soon enough for the meeting. So we need to get a meeting day. So look at the emails and reply to me, and I will be happy to establish that, and we can announce it next History Commission meeting. The committee needs to review the material and work on it. I would appreciate that, and so would the rest of the members. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Esther. And I apologize because I was headed for that meeting and I was so tired. I actually went the wrong way on I-66 and ended up in Fairfax.
Not
City.
good. Not good.
Okay.
I'm glad you made it home.
Yes, just barely.
So things do happen. I understand.
Anybody else have any comments or questions for ethnic and oral history? All right. Resident Curator, Bob, do you have anything to add to tell us about that?
No, I think that's why I asked the questions when I did. So no, I don't have anything to add. All right.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you for asking the question about the gardens. That was interesting.
Yeah. I'm sure there's more under the covers. All right, thanks.
And bylaws really isn't, well, Jordan is looking into a potential revision of bylaws, but we aren't at that stage yet. So, and Anne is not here either. So we'll pass that over. ARB liaison, Elise, do you have anything to report for that?
I am behind on my reports because my last 2 months have been kind of chaotic.
Sure.
The ARB has been very busy, but not very exciting. We are finding our way on Holland Hills. We had 2 5-4 approvals last month. I was on one side on one, on the other side on the other. So we're still finding our way. After we meet next week on Bastille Day, I will put you together a 3-month report and you can see it, but it's really pretty, nothing very exciting.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Elise with regard to the ARB? All right, David, are you with us? Yes, you were. So you've been waiting patiently. Fairfax City.
Okay. Well, on July 12th, which is next Tuesday, City Council will be voting on recommendations for the removal of Confederate-related street names. I think some of the recommendations will pass and some will not, but it's still a question that's up in the air. We will find out on the 12th.
Did that get frozen? I can't quite see David.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can.
You want me to start over?
We heard that you're expecting removal of street names, Confederate street names on the 12th.
Yeah, we have a so they'll vote on whether or not to change a name, but not to change it to something. And then there'll be a 60-day period where we will solicit comments or suggestions on various new names, and that decision will come sometime in the October. So, and that, for as far as the county is concerned, will include some decision on Lee Highway, and as it leaves the city and enters the county on the western side of the city, and as it enters the city from the northeast portion at Blake Lane. So we will work through that. I received an interesting inquiry from Fairfax County Public Schools facilities staff asking just a staff person wanting some background information on the Legato School. I did try to get in touch with Mary Lipsey, but when I was calling, she was having a romantic sojourn to New England, and I didn't want to interrupt that. So I did speak with Bob Coffin from the Retired Fairfax County Educators Group. For those of you who may not know, this group has for a long time been the point of contact for the Legato School, and Bob in particular, Bob Coffin, is the one who kind of keeps an eye on it and makes sure that any needed maintenance is taken care of. I know I can just pass that on to the county. I don't know why they got in touch with me, but anyway.
Dave, there is a book in the library on the story of Legato.
I found some information as well that was
Okay.
the building originally was in the way as they were going to widen Lee Highway. When was that? 1970 or something? Anyway.
Also, the book is on our website.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you. I will check that out.
All right, Dad, we have a question to ask. Also get help with this.
Okay.
Sorry, we had interference there.
The City of Fairfax Museum was constructed in 1873 and was the first public school building in Fairfax County, and two-story brick building, and it was adaptively reused in 1992 as the City Museum. And so on Monday, July 4 at 2:30, there was a 30-year anniversary program, and all of the persons who were involved, who are still alive, who were involved in the creation of the City Museum were present. That I also announced that the city will be hiring some architectural historians to do a facilities assessment and to determine what we may do relative to the City Museum, whether we would do a substantial addition to it that would be architecturally sensitive to what is already there, or whether it would be more cost-effective and historically appropriate to possibly relocate the museum. And but that is a multi-million-dollar, multi-year decision that is only just beginning with this assessment study that is funded this year and will begin sometime in the next 6 months. And then I wanted to share with you that the city of Fairfax adopted a new ordinance to prohibit relic hunting on all city-owned land and city right-of-ways. I was in Richmond visiting family, and we went to Bell Island, and there was a sign as we entered the Bell Island that it said relic hunting prohibited, and then in parentheses it cited the Richmond City Code. And so I did some research, contacted the city of Richmond. Imitation is the best form of flattery, although I don't like to flatter Richmond too often because of my Northern Virginia bias, justifiably. It's a justifiable bias. But anyway, we now have an ordinance that prohibits people from relic hunting on all public lands, schools, parks, trails, along roadways, and our historic sites. I don't know if the county has anything that's similar to that. We're not out to arrest people, but to simply try to discourage them from doing things that are inappropriate. And we've had a session with the police already. If they see people on public right-of-ways with their ubiquitous headphones and their scanners, that they would inform them that that's not legal and ask them to leave. If they came back the next day, certainly they would be cited. But so I just thought that might be of some interest to members of the commission. And lastly, I want to express kudos to Chris Barbashek and the library's precision book cart drill team for participating in the Fairfax City's Independence Day Parade. They were as precise as the old guard at Arlington Cemetery and the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. So keep it up, county library staff. And that's all I have to report. We're going to try and behave ourselves over the summer.
Thank you. And I know, Jordan, you've had your hand up intermittently there. So, and welcome. I don't know when you slipped in, but I recognize that you are here. You need to unmute yourself.
Oh, sorry about that. Sorry for being a little bit late. I just wanted to find out, I was looking through the material on catching up on some of the 106 cases. I wondered if you received anything from, and I realize I'm out of order, from the Dulles situation.
Not as a follow-up for ours. We do have, there was a Dulles thing that looked very, very technical that I've failed to follow up on, but there wasn't anything with regard to either Sky Chef or the
room, the waiting
the
room.
lounge.
Yeah,
Capitol Room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not as far as I'm aware. Some of our mail is getting directed oddly. I've been getting it at the park, which is strange. I'm not sure how that found its way to me, but yeah, so we might have to double check on some of that. Okay. See, website coordinator, I don't have anything to report. And so announcements. Anybody want to, I guess Mary actually wrote hers down, so we'll start with Mary.
Okay. I got a request from a resident asking how to change a name for a street. It has nothing to do Civil War, Confederate. It's a family name in the Centerville area, the Harris family, and they would like to see if they could get the name changed. So I did some research, and I thought it'd be something that all history commissioners might like. So it's in the share file. We actually have a facilitation and addressing center who is responsible for making sure that street names are out there and that our 911 responders and all can find it. So this is what they put out that has to be submitted to them. There's a road name change petition and an application, must be signed by at least 51% of the lot owners on the street. They must submit a plat of all the lots on the street, and they also have to pay a one-time fee in accordance with the Fairfax County Sign Shop price list for the cost of manufacturing the signs for the street. So of course they don't give you a value on that because it depends upon how many signs there would be, etc. So anyway, that's in the share file for anybody who wants to look at that. And the only other thing is that Advocacy Committee, September 17th is our in-person Oak Hill open house returning, okay? And Sue has been interested for the Fairfax County Historical Society, so I was thinking that she might be able to do double duty with the History Commission, and I'm going to be there too. But again, it's September 17th, noon to 4, Oak Hill open house.
Mary, I will definitely be there, but.
Okay, you're going to get an invitation from me, probably by the end of the week.
And I also have my 51st, since there was no 50th high school reunion in Pennsylvania that evening, so I will be dancing, and I'm not going to be there until 4 o'clock.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
All right.
Anybody else have announcements they wish to share?
Oh, I have a little one.
Okay.
This is Anne. Vienna's in the throes of Liberty Amendments Month, and all the information's on the website if you're interested. We've had this month is the 15th Amendment, and we had Carla Bruce come and speak this afternoon, show that documentary on race, and then lead a discussion, which it seemed very well attended. I was there for a little while before I came to this meeting. But then next week is an interesting one. We've been doing keynote events every Wednesday, 6:30 to 8. Next week is a Women's Right to Vote lecture and panel discussion about Mary Church Terrell, and it's presented by the Alpha Nu chapter of Delta Kappa Gamma Society. So that should actually be quite well attended and very interesting. Last year they were all virtual. This year they're all in person. So it's taken some getting used to having to be somewhere at a particular time. So that's next Wednesday, and then it's almost over.
All right. Jordan and then Janae. Jordan.
Yeah, following on Bob Beach's announcements a couple of years ago, I just wanted to mention that we just got our second grandchild, Asher Scott Miller, born June 10th. So there you go.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks.
Hey, Jordan.
Yeah.
Today is my granddaughter's 3rd birthday.
Oh, Mazel Tov. Great.
There you go.
There you go. That's great. Congratulations.
Yeah, glad to share. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Janae.
I've been working with the Germantown Cemetery Preservation Association, and they will be having on Sunday, August 28th, a special event called the Germantown Cemetery Legacy Day. And the reason why they're doing it is they are desperately trying to find descendants. That's their whole purpose. They want to be able to find it because, of course, as we know that Germantown and then School Street were both eminent domain. And so they're all over the county, the people that were buried at Germantown Cemetery. I can send the flyer, and should we put it in the share?
I can put it in the share file, sure.
Share file. And if you are interested in going, it would be from 3 to 6 p.m. at the Truro Anglican Church. And they really are hoping that they can get a lot of people to come. And this organization that I work through, the Racial Reconciliation Group, we're promoting this and we're really excited about it. We are actually I'm putting together kind of a booklet for them that we'll be passing out. So it's not just for descendants. If some of you that are just like-minded and are interested, certainly you can come, but you need to RSVP by the 1st of August. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
And anybody else have an announcement? Mary, I assume your sign, is your hand back up or?
Nope, I thought it lowered it.
Okay.
Tammy?
There we go.
Yes.
Tammy.
I got a call from a gentleman from the Southeast Fairfax Development Corporation that they are putting in the second in their series of murals along the Route 1 corridor. It's in conjunction with a group called Cafe, I think, Community Art is for Everyone, I think. So they wanted some background. They're going to put this one up in the Pendaw area on the Zips dry cleaner, if you know where that is. So they were interested in some history there. And apparently there's some history of the Zips dry cleaner there, the Jewish history in Fairfax County, and so they were interested in that. So I'm going to take a look at what we have in our conference materials and see if I can tie them together. But anyway, I thought that was an interesting connection.
Yeah, sounds cool. All right. Anybody else? Okay. I think then we have completed our agenda for this evening, and at 10:02 we are ready to adjourn unless there is some objection. Hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you so much, everybody, for your patience and your attention to detail, and for just doing all that you do. And enjoy the rest of this evening.
And thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Safe travels, Barbara.
Yes. Thank you.
Barbara's taking off in the air tomorrow. Safe travels, Barbara.
My first post-COVID flying, if the plane goes. We'll see. Cross your fingers that we really get up in the air.
Yeah.
Enjoy. It sounds like fun.
Bye.
Right.
Bye-bye.
All right. Good night.
Bye, everyone.